In this video, we are going to cover the 5 most important things you need to know to master Gran Turismo 7. And they did help me on my way to get 100,000 DR points. The story usually begins with taking the right racing lines into the corner. Just like this one where I'm using all of the track on the right side, moving the car to the middle of the road and then looking for the late apex. And using this late apex will provide me a little bit better exit out of this whole section. And then again, moving the car to the right side of the track, hitting the brakes, and then we are trying to once again grab the inside of this curb, upshift into 4th gear and get the best possible acceleration. This gives you a better angle for the upcoming turn, increasing your speed throughout the corner since you should always be on the opposite side of the upcoming turn, stay right when approaching left turns and stay left for the right turns. Another segment that is very valuable is using as much track as possible while approaching the turn. Even a slight difference can significantly impact your speed out of the turn. By this way, I mean absolutely everything. Just like in this example where I'm using most of the track on the left. You can see that I'm approaching the turn, braking onto the curb, but you can see how much track am I actually using in here. And then again, using the curb to rotate the car, and once again on the way out using as much as possible. So always check where the best drivers position their cars and when they start to brake. Which brings us to our next point. You've probably all heard about braking points, and they are one of the most important segments in racing. Braking points are nothing more than objects on the track that you can usually use to start braking. They can be cones, billboards, even strange looking people on the track, or maybe tire marks. I always suggest using marks that don't move because anyone can take those, let's say 100-meter marks out there in the race, especially if an incident happens. But why are they so important? They provide a specific point on the track where the best optimal braking procedure starts. So not only that it helps with consistency, but you can always rely on those points and you know that the car will make it into the turn. And just like in this example where I'm using the 100-meter sign in here, but I'm not exactly using the 100, I'm using this line just beneath it. It's the 100, but it's just a line. And I will always know that if I use that line, the car will eventually stop. Now that we've covered the racing line and the braking points, let's focus on the turning points. Where should you start turning? The principle stays the same. Use physical objects on the track to help you turn at exactly the same spot every single time. I know some tracks don't have these markers, which is why some tracks are more challenging than others. But in this example, I actually have a turning point. It's the curb. It's actually the ending of the curb on the left. And I will always use this mark to stay consistent in this specific turn. Without the points, you simply need to rely on your senses, but we are trying to minimize the room for mistake by relying on our senses less and actually using those physical objects more consistently. And that is why some racing series don't have many overtakes in a single race. Everyone is using the same lines, the same points, and basically the same turning techniques, minimizing the chance to overtake. Usually, the higher the level of a driving field, the fewer overtakes will occur. So let's try to visualize this. Approaching the turn, using all of the track, starting to brake on our braking point, braking straight without moving the steering wheel, and then when the car reaches the turning point, slowly starting to turn the wheel and releasing the brakes. But wait a second, now the question is how much braking pressure to apply. This is where we try to see exactly how much braking pressure is enough. Usually, like in this example, the brakes are applied all the way up to 100%, which helps to stop the car in the most efficient way. But what if you only need to slow down the car slightly? In technical sections, a partial braking application is usually the best approach. We are only applying about 20 to 25% of braking pressure to get the most speed through the corner. This difference can make a significant impact in terms of lap times because we are not stopping the car more than it's needed. And in this example, I'm dropping the brakes from 100% down to, let's say, 20 to 30. This is usually called trail braking. And in the next turn, we'll try to apply something similar, but not exactly reaching 100%. So this gives me just about 75 to 80% of braking pressure, and this will allow to carry more speed through this whole section. If you would like to know more about racing and how to improve your pace, I created a specific online course that will help you to improve your pace and become faster over time. The link is in the description, and if you made it this far into the video, you can use this coupon to get a 15% discount. So let's go back to our example and see what happens when we need to start releasing the brakes and start accelerating. Usually, downshifting just before the corner helps the car to get more rotation and turn in better. On the way out of the corner, we're trying to stabilize the car and get more grip by upshifting right before applying the power. This way, I can get under the power earlier and get more speed on the way out of the corner. So let's try one more time and see what exactly can we apply on the track. So let's try to apply everything that we learned so far. We are reaching our breaking point, which is the 100-meter sign, braking in the straight line, reaching the 50, which is usually a good turning point, downshifting the second, and quickly upshifting in the third gear to get better traction out of this whole corner. And once again, we need to use the full width of the track to carry more speed down the straight. And as you probably can tell, it's a pretty long straight, so a better exit is always required. And then again, we are reaching 100. You can usually use the line, it depends on what you like, but in this case, we are going to use the 100, braking in the straight line, looking for our turning point, which is usually the boot on the left. Then downshifting into first gear, quickly upshifting into second gear to get more traction on the way out, and trying to straighten up the car as much as possible, because if the car is straight, we can apply the power all the way up to 100%. You can also notice that I'm using brake and balance at +5 to rotate the back end of the car. Here, we're reaching 100-meter mark once again. We need to brake in the straight line. We will reach our turning point, which is just in front of us, or on the left side, which is usually the end of the curb. Slowly start decreasing the braking pressure as we're getting into the turn, quickly downshifting in the first, and once again quickly upshifting in the third gear to get better traction out of the corner. Because you can see, once again, I'm using the full width of the track. I'm using absolutely everything. Here, again, the same situation. The 50 or the line just beneath the 50-meter sign, using as much track as possible, applying the brakes as we explained before, using the late apex in fourth gear to carry as much speed as possible out of the whole section, and then moving the car all the way to the right side of the track, because not only we are using the full width of the track, but this also gives us a better angle for the upcoming turn. Then downshifting into third gear, quickly upshifting into fourth gear for better traction out of the corner, and we're just avoiding one additional upshift. And you can probably notice that this wasn't my best attempt, and I was actually able to get all of the speed back in the last section of the track. Once again, left hand side, this is our braking point, braking straight line, braking 100%, and as soon as we start turning in, we're releasing the brakes, upshifting into fourth gear, and then again our last braking point on the left. We are braking straight 100%, but as soon as we start turning in, we need to release the brakes to avoid understeer, quickly upshifting into fourth gear and put the power down. This again gave me so much better acceleration that I was actually able to get to a 127.9, which again was good enough to get me top 5 in the world. Applying these tips will transform your driving, no matter the track or the car. These techniques aren't just theoretical, they are practical strategies that I use every day to stay competitive. For more in-depth guides, check out my previous videos, including, well, especially this one on my braking technique, which is going to be in one of these corners. All of these tips can be applied anywhere, regardless of the circuit or the car. This is how I always approach my turns, and I kind of get to know the corners a little bit better. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and once again, consider subscribing to the channel and maybe even liking this video. So once again, thank you very much, and bye.